all the meeting new folks and the conversations and all those things. So I always kind of pictured that of just, you know, for a couple strangers to meet on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook that we're now live, everyone. Then where we can just let that conversation kind of evolve.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the idea I have. I don't know about you, but I've kind of never met a stranger. I've always just I've always kind of been just the ability to like, hey, what are you doing? Tell me about you. What's going on? So
Oh, totally, Jeff. I'm the same way, man. I love people, passionate about them. I love to chat. I'm a big time conversationalist, and I'm in sales. So
yeah,
we got to love
that's
people
right.
when we're in this
Yeah.
business.
That's what I was gonna say. And then your background in sales, if you don't have a little bit of people skills, and a lot most of the time, but if you don't have a little, man, it's that industry will kick you out just as fast as you got wanted to get into it.
Oh yeah, you don't last. You don't last. If you don't enjoy people and want to know their problems and try and help them, this is not the industry for you.
Yeah. Let me tell everyone real quick. Tonight we're going to talk live here with Josh Flower, B2B sales professional turned mindset coach who overcame a 28-year battle with chronic back pain, addiction, and self-doubt to reclaim his health and purpose. So Josh is going to share his powerful journey of perseverance, personal transformation, and why it's never too late to rewrite your story. So perfect match, dude, for the Second Chance podcast. Reading, learning about you, and I'm excited for you to walk us through. But kick me off, man. Tell me like today. What's a day in Josh's life look like these days?
Day in the life. I love it. Yeah. So day in the life for me is real busy, Jeff. I sense you're kind of the same as me. I wake up early. I've got a morning process I like to follow. I train every single day, and I'm still a B2B sales person. So I sell software and technology solutions to businesses. And I do that because I love it. I got into the industry because I had a young family and it seemed like a great way to make money, but it was absolutely my calling. But I'm becoming an old dog, man. I don't know about you, but I'm 51 now. And
Right there with you. I'm
yeah,
right there with
nice.
you. Yeah.
So I got to this point in my life and career where I thought, is this it? Am I just going to close bigger and bigger deals and pat myself on the back? Or, is it time to figure out a way to start giving back to others? So about a year ago, I launched a mindset coaching practice to pass along all the lessons that I've learned in my life, in my career, because I've been through a lot. I know we're going to talk about it today. I know that's a
Yeah.
big part of the theme here is the journey that people go on. So I got a lot to teach, and it's been a lot of fun. But now I'm doing double duty, man. So it's busy. It's real busy.
Yeah, I agree. I run my own. I do some contract work for the government, and then I do
Nice.
on coaching. And but then I have my own stuff, a podcast, and then I have a couple of accounts that I still keep up with from a direct marketing. So I'm like you. I run up against it, and then my kids are. My daughter's almost a teenager. I don't want to age her up for the extra month, but and my son's he's 15, so we're chasing kids on ball fields
Oh yeah.
and trying to be as active with them too. So a lot of just a lot going on, man. For a couple, if we put our ages together right now, a couple 101-year-old guys.
That is crazy. That's crazy. I know I'm envious, man, with kids that age because I've got a 22-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter. Son's just finished up university, daughter's in first year, freshman. So you're in a good place right now, man. Enjoy it. Don't
Man,
wish those months away,
I'm not. Yeah. And I tell people this, Josh. I told someone the other day, I'm like, we do so much that I have to really go back and find pictures. Like my wife today goes, well, we're going to stay. They're playing ball in Williamsburg, which is across the state this weekend. And she's like, yeah, we're going to stay at this hotel. And she goes, you remember that's where we were with our son when he was like little. And I went, yeah, show me a picture because I don't remember being there. Because I'm kind of in their timeline of where they're at and some of those memories. So
Yeah.
I jokingly tell uh, folks with young kids, I'm like, all that stuff those old dudes told you about time getting away, it's not, they're not lying. And just remember that. Don't be like, ah, yeah, buddy, I got it, because you do, and you do at this age, but like, bam, bam, and then I was looking, you know how your iPhone will
Oh
pop
yeah.
up those memories, dude. And I was like, so I swipe up for the date just to see what it was. And it's only like 4 years ago, and I'm like, where are they? He's taller than me now. She's
Right.
almost as tall. I was just like, we're just so yes. So thank you for the reminding me, not just me, but everyone else of that, of how quick time gets away from you, especially with kids, man. And life didn't move as fast for me until I had kids.
No, no kidding. And you know what? People rag on the teenage years. No way. The teenage years are
Yeah,
great.
yeah, it's
I
good.
loved them because
Yeah.
my kids were, they're becoming real people. And everything's in how you look at it, and like that's a big theme for me is like the lens that you look at your life through is what your life is. So if you want to sign up for this thing like teenagers are a pain in the butt, fine, I guess they are. But I don't know. I really enjoyed that time.
The one I like to reframe. You want to talk about like a fist fighting moment sometimes is the folks that'll go, this younger generation just ain't getting it, Josh. And I'm quick to go, yeah, but who raised them? I just
That's right.
I'm like, yeah, but who you guys raised these raised who you're complaining about. So then I gotta skedaddle because a lot of times they'll be like, what'd you do? I
Yeah.
don't you attacking me.
You got to watch it, man. You got to be
Yeah.
careful.
Dude, so walk us back. You
Yeah.
you you have this. I had a couple notes that I had made for myself there, but
Mhm.
you have this moment of where you were able to say throughout your life, you and I aren't that far age apart. I think we probably had some moments that we could probably cross paths and say these are some intersections that of
Totally.
timing wise. But walk us back to where you were like, enough's enough, and I got to make some changes. What's going on with you back then?
Yeah. You know what? It wasn't that long ago, sad to say, Jeff, because I had this crazy, maybe not unlike a lot of people out there. Like I had a good childhood. I had loving parents. I got into a little bit of weed and some drinking when I was a teenager, like most kids did. And, whatever. I had a, working relationship with that stuff. But then I hurt my back when I was in my early 20s. And I did that a few different ways, but the one that really hit me was I was playing basketball, and I went and did like a post move, and I herniated 2 discs in my back, and it was like the most pain I'd ever been in, man. It was like I'd been shot in the back, you know? Yeah, just the worst. And that was the first time that I got addicted to painkillers. And I thought, hey, I'm going to get over this, right? It'll be a few months and then I'll be back in the game. But it really set off this cycle of my back making moderate progress and getting better. And then it would go out again and back and forth and back and forth. And over time, I lost a lot of hope, man. Like I really started to think like, this is it. I'm not going to be able to play sports again. I'm not going to be able to wrestle with my kids. Um, and that led me to, I wouldn't call them physical addictions, but definitely psychological ones. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, where you're leaning on stuff like the drink, like
Yeah.
like smoking weed and other things to sort of give you something to alleviate the pain and the suffering of your life. And that's really what started happening to me in my late 20s.
Josh, what were they prescribing you? All right, first, I have a couple questions. What
Yeah.
year are you talking about here to give me an idea of what drugs are available, and then what was they prescribing you?
Yeah, it was like age 22, 23 when this happened. And it was morphine. So I was on morphine. And I just remember that feeling coming out of the hospital with my supply to sort of get me through, and then sort of, having that go down and telling myself, like, I don't want to, sort of keep going with this. And just that feeling, man, days of just, I don't even, boy, it was so long ago, but it was like almost like a despair. And it was a depression. It really was like I was missing my warm blanket. It was the worst.
So you think is this late '90s?
Yeah. Yeah. This
Yeah.
is like 96,
Yeah.
97.
So here's what I wanted to point out. I used to do some. I worked in a little bit of narcotics in law enforcement, and so
Okay.
here's what I wanted to point out to everyone. You're kind of pre-opioid.
Yes.
So different still, so we don't talk about it. The problem is that those earlier addictions got replaced with opioids, so we don't talk about the morphines and the struggles that people had with with other addictions to pain meds back then.
You're absolutely
because of
right,
how
Jeff.
we accelerate it really quick. So I just wanted to kind of point that out to everyone that we're talking about a lot of similarities. Um, it's opioids are
Oh,
your body gets addicted to those, and you sometimes you have to have those to survive. So it's a little bit
yeah,
of different addiction, but still extreme. So I just want to point that out, Josh, to let folks know kind of what was going on. For me, sometimes if when you're talking, if I can, all right, so now I just went back to 1996. I know what I'm driving. I go where I'm at. I know where I'm working, so it helps me
100%.
process what's going on in the world, man.
No, but
And,
you
and,
know
and
what?
here's the
Opioids
thing:
are
like a
the.
lot of folks we didn't address addiction like we do now. You know, it's like you had AA and some other stuff. So resource wise, we're not as developed in. I don't know about Canada though.
No, there wasn't the awareness. And that's the thing. Like, opioids are absolutely terrible, what they've done to communities and what they've done to human beings,
Yeah.
right? And I, so I would never compare the experience to that. And thankfully, I've never had to go on opioids, and I don't really know anybody that has. But for me, I just remember that experience, you know, coming out of the hospital after a number of days, and just that feeling of that blanket going away. That's the way I remember it, you know, like a nice warm
Yeah.
blanket that just sort of went away. But it sort of taught me something, you know, Jeff. And I think the bigger point for me is I realize substances can help me through this, you know? And so as I went through my life, I used muscle relaxants, really strong drugs to help me sort of get through. But I also leaned on the over the counter stuff, the alcohol, the weed. That was a big one for me. You know, using weed to calm myself down and alleviate pain. And that was a theme through my 30s, even into my 40s. And I had periods, you know, where I would sort of abstain from that stuff, but it was
Yeah.
always there in my life, man.
All right. So, what kind of keep walking with us?
Yeah,
That's so are you married, kids, is where you at in life at this? So yeah, kids would have been not too far
100%.
behind you. Yeah.
Yeah, like I can tell you. So picture this, right? I was a guy growing up that loved to work out. I had enjoyed sports. I was a healthy guy. Then this comes along and really sort of knocks me off. And I'm seeing all sorts of different therapists, physiotherapists. I'm seeing acupuncturists. I'm going to osteopaths, chiropractors. I'm talking to doctors. I even am meeting with surgeons. I start my family in my late 20s. So I think I was about 28 or 29 when my son was born. And this problem's in full bloom. For 5 years now, I've been dealing with this. It's on again, it's off again. The most I'm able to work out in the gym is a couple months before my back goes out again. And so it's this cycle of recover, back goes out, excruciating pain. All the muscles in one side of my back are pulling me over. I'm walking with a cane, man, in my 20s. You know, you see these old people looking at you with pity in their eyes, you know, and it's like, man, this is bad. Um, but I just kept searching for answers. If this therapist ran out of ideas, I'd move on to the next one and the next one. And I would try different drugs, and I'd try different ways to sort of address it myself, right? Like some of the stuff that I was mentioning, like the alcohol and things like that. And it just turned into this cycle where that identity I had as a younger person of being healthy, someone that worked out, someone that was really sporty, it sort of went away. And I became the guy that was just coping with his back issue all the time. And I still had a career. I still, you know, had my family. I, you know, still had my life, but this was the theme was Josh has a back problem. Be careful. I can't sit on the couch for too long. Maybe I can't sleep in the bed for a few weeks because I need to lay on the hard floor. And it was just nonstop, man, nonstop. So I don't know. Have you ever had anything like that, like a chronic injury or something that just,
I haven't, man.
oh, you're
Only
lucky,
I've
man.
just like been around it, EMS'd it, police, worked it through, I interviewed
Oh,
some,
okay. You know,
from that side, but man, I've been blessed with not having, anything that required like what you're talking about.
oh,
And
I'm glad.
but I am, man, I was around it a lot. And, when you get into, the further that conversation was like a lot of the folks that I ended up talking to was either parents who had lost someone to opioid addiction,
Oh,
parents, kids, that were addicted, that had had a friend die, and we had them in grand jury and things along those lines. And then people that had were addicted and were they were telling the story about how they went in to get their pain managed, like Josh did. You went in to get your pain managed, and they were like, "Oh, well, here, take these," and they were giving them the synthetic opioids that had hit
Yeah.
the market, and they were telling kind of like what you and I are talking about here now, kind of little just testimonial of and listen, man, these are grandmothers. This is not like when you say drug user.
Yeah.
Sometimes this little character pops in your head, and when you say drug dealer, there's a character that pops in your head. This you may one of my witnesses was there was people that had um, they were recovering from hip surgeries or recovering from broken bones, and they were given these medicines and became severely addictive to the point where they were stealing and selling stuff to support their habits just the same.
That is crazy.
Isn't that
And it's
crazy?
these people were victimized, right?
Yes.
They trusted the healthcare system to take care of them.
Yep.
And that's one of the things, maybe some members of the audience are picking up on it. I've got a little bit of a Canadian twang in my accent that usually comes out. And, we talk about the free healthcare that we have here, but and it ain't perfect. I'll tell you that. Like there's no perfect system out there. However, the opioid crisis never afflicted us the same way it did in places like Florida and
Yeah.
places like that southeastern
So
part of the United States,
southwest. I'm in Southwest Virginia, and then
Yeah.
West Virginia, Kentucky. So um, I was on the outskirts of that where I'm from. Our town was affected. As you get further into, if you look at the map in Virginia, we call it the tip, and it's where
Yep.
Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia come together. That area there, if you threw a blanket over it on your map, heavily inundated. And
Oh, those poor
what a
people.
lot of it comes back to was government subsidized healthcare.
Yes.
So the government was kind of funding, produce this miracle thing, and on their side of it was it had a coating was time released and it was supposed to be the things, but everybody figured out you could wash your coating off and you had a pure hit.
Yeah. Oh,
Um, rednecks are very oh crap, I can't
innovative.
think. They're very innovative when it comes time to figuring things out. So
Yeah, but if
that's
you're suffering, if you're in pain,
oh
right?
yeah,
And if you're like looking, and that was the thing that I think that I can relate in that way where it's like you're in a bad place, because you're suffering.
yeah,
And then you got something that can sweep that away for a period of time and it feels so good and is given to you by a doctor. Like,
yeah,
why aren't you going to trust that?
yeah.
We need to be able to trust that, right?
No, you're spot on with that, man. And we can take that down to many rabbit holes of the trust, and because they are. And I, up until COVID, man, a lot of people had authority with me, and then I've had to take some of it back after I was like, wait
Yes.
a minute, you told me this was the thing, and just information as it's became more available to us, and it's like, wait a minute, hold on here now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that trust is going away, isn't it?
yeah,
Like, yeah, they're losing it a little bit. And I hate that because we want to be able to trust these institutions, right? Like I don't know a lick about healthcare and like what I should do. I'm looking to the experts to help me, to
yeah.
guide me. I need to trust them.
I didn't realize how. And we know this, but I didn't realize how money was so
I know.
influenced into our healthcare system, and how we can write articles, we can write articles, as science. Sometimes one side gets suppressed. Like I just didn't realize how deep that flow of money went in for influence to
Yeah.
influence decisions, to influence opinions and things like that. I thought there were some safeguards in place to say no, but then those folks were, they were influenced as well. So you see a lot of incentives that that it just surprises me that there's not better controls in place to prevent that from
Same.
happening.
Yeah.
um I
I
think would
agree.
probably be my biggest take was like, I don't, you get into, you can walk it into your, just in your government of like, hey, we trusted you guys to make sure that it didn't get that didn't happen. Um,
Yeah, that's almost like a government. responsibility as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, right? Is like, listen, we know money makes the world go around, but when it comes to certain things, and another big one obviously is food, right? Like
Yeah.
we
There you
need to be
go.
able to, yeah, we need to be able to trust the government that they're not going to let all the wrong ingredients in, and they're not going to let these companies get away with a lot of the stuff that they're trying to do. I heard the other day that the big, big food, those companies are trying to figure out a way around the appetite suppression that comes with drugs like Ozempic,
Yeah.
which are helping people. Like, do
Yeah.
I wish that people would just live healthy lives and eat the right foods? Of course I do. But if you got a drug that can help people get out of this terrible situation, I'm all for it. And the fact that these so-called, businesses that are there to feed us and serve us are trying to find a way around that so they can sell more food, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. There's got to be a
There's
way to stop that.
there's that pallet engineer that
Yes.
engineers that whatever your chip or cracker, whatever, that it automatically says this is good, get another.
Yeah. It literally short
Yeah,
circuits you.
short circuits. Yeah,
It's
to
not,
make
that's
you
not
think.
okay. Like
No,
that needs to be stopped,
and
like,
you bring out a good point, dude, about you got Ozempic and you're like, oh, here it comes, man. Everybody's gonna be good. But then, just like anything else, you have these folks over here like, that's all right. We're gonna engineer it where it'll be. Yeah, so it's
it's
like,
crap, but it's money driven, like you were saying,
yes,
because hey, they need to sell food, right? What does Ozempic do? It tamps your appetite down, so you're not consuming as much. So they got to figure out a way to get around that, and it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just discouraging, when you hear that.
it would. You would think, and I'll say this a lot of times. I'm a Jetsons cartoon guy, so you always say like I figured we,
Oh
but
yeah, we are the same age.
yeah, I realistically thought we would have been further along in
Yes.
chasing way more. I, I remember you get disconnected. Like when I switch to podcast, you don't hear your news. Like I'm
That's
not a
right.
big news person anyway. And then I remember one day I had flipped the radio and a commercial come home talking about hunger. And I'm like, there's no way in 20, like I think it's 2016, 2017, probably. I'm like, there's no way we still have hunger problems with all the money, all the resources, all the things that we put into it. It just, it surprises me that we're as advanced as we are, that it's like we're stalled in so many ways. We're still fighting the same wars, having the same conversations about who's bad and who's good. And um we haven't made any more progress toward Mars other than what's going on with SpaceX. And I just figured at least at this point in time we would have perfected some kind of payload transfer to Mars. and
Yeah.
and a little, and in my head, though, is little Jeff is like, well, no, dog, we should be doing some kind of like Star Wars ish interdimensional type travel.
Yeah.
Also,
When's
right?
that
Because it's
coming?
the way my brain works. I'm like, I grew up on cartoons. I know how easy this is in Star Wars.
But
Yeah,
you know what? That's so true, man. Like, why are we still chewing on these same problems,
yeah,
And it's because, like, I say this a lot, right? Like, the economic system is a human invention. And that system gets in the way of progress on a lot of fronts, right?
yeah,
And it also stops us from taking care of things like, look, whatever people think about the environment, the bottom line is this: it is our only web of life that we have. So we got to take that thing seriously. That's not a human invention, right? The
yeah,
economy, business, all the stuff we're doing there is human. So if it's not serving us, if it's not helping people get out of poverty, I mean, the good news is you look at places like India, the standard of living is beginning to move up, but still, you're absolutely right. For the people at the very lowest end,
yeah.
they're still struggling to just put food on the table every day. And that's kind of ridiculous in 2025,
I had Antonio McBroom, rural kid from North Carolina. Great conversation. Come from no running water, and he's
That's nuts,
it's
right?
basket
Right in the
rider.
US. Like,
Yeah. But then we and him were talking. He's probably right there. I think he may have been about 10 years younger than us. But because we were talking, because I had some similar experiences of just briefly of not having running water in our house as a kid. And me and him was talking, but there's still there's still folks that are like that. And it just, I'm like,
Blows the mind, doesn't it? Like
yeah,
really. That's
this, because in my head, if I got out of it, surely surely as slow as I am, everybody else is way ahead of me. They're everything. I just had no clue that we would still fight the same battles.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But you know what? The other thing though that is kind of neat, and it's kind of the same with my story, is that if you keep pushing, right? You keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. Every now and then you just get these innovations or these breakthroughs, right?
Yep.
Where it's like, boom, we take it to the next level. Boom, something else cool is happening. And that's really what happened with me, man. Like now I'm into my 40s and I'm still dealing with this back condition and it's getting worse. It gets to the point, Jeff, where I decided that's it. I'm not even going to go to the gym anymore and try because you know how the worst part of the gym is the first 2 months
Yes.
when you don't have the habit and you have no
Yes.
gains and it just sucks, right? That's
Heaviest
what,
weights the front door, right?
yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I just,
Yeah, exactly. You know it. And so that was my life over and over and over. It was like I'm starting back from scratch again. And so I just kind of threw in the towel and said, that's it. But I was still seeing therapists, I was still getting referrals. And then finally, man, my breakthrough is I got introduced to this physiotherapist, some guy, he's about 115 pounds from India, but just I've never seen like, he would just have me walk and he's just studying my body. And then he starts telling me, oh, I can see this and this and this. So he gets me on the table, starts manipulating my body, gives me some exercises to do. And I'm telling you, Jeff, in a matter of weeks, okay, I'm 49 years old now. I've been dealing with this since 23. And in a matter of weeks, I feel my body getting stronger. My chronic pain is going down. I'm waking up in the morning. I'm like, wow, I don't even feel my back. Like that was standard for me, man. My eyes would open and I'd feel it. Like there's the pain. And it just started to gradually go away. And I'm not kidding you, man. In 8 weeks, the back pain was gone.
really?
And he's like, Josh, try going to the gym. I want you to start lifting, use the machine, start that. And it's been almost 2 years. And so the story, the takeaway I want for people to know is do not give up. All right. If
Yeah.
you are dealing with something, keep going, find someone new, try something new.
Yeah, you hit it. How did you find that guy? How did you find your the doctor?
I'll tell you how, man. I played like almost like I got the therapist I was seeing to refer me to someone. Like that person would be seeing me, I'd make some progress, we'd slow down or we'd plateau. And then I'd say, hey, do you know someone else that you think that I should talk to? And it was like, yeah, talk to this person, this person, this person. This had gone on for years. And finally, I was referred to this clinic and I was working with this guy. And then he was like, hey, you need to talk to our guy here, like our little genius, because I think he might be able to help you. And then that was the guy for me. So, hey, if people want his name and number, you have to come up to Ottawa where I live, but I will intro you. This guy can change your life. He's amazing.
I know folks that travel for like what you're saying. So you remind me, and who he reminds me of is a friend of mine, Dr. Sean Pasuk, Pastuch. I probably butchered his last name. I hadn't
Yeah.
seen him in person in about 11 months, but um, I got to be around him last year and just got to know his work there and stuff. And he's one of those guys that I pulled up his Instagram to tell you kind of his tagline is "Live more, hurt less."
Oh, I
And he
like
just
that.
has like your doc. He has some unique things that he does with people, and he's worked with uh, another guy that we had a friend that we had in common. Um, he's worked with him and fixed some pretty severe injuries like what you're talking about. So he's a good follower
Amazing.
as well. Um,
Well, and you know
I
what?
just
Like these people are like, we were talking about sales at the beginning, Jeff, and like you need to be a people person. I think for people that are the best at this, they have to have a passion for people and
yeah,
understanding the body, right? And reading people and being very observant. So these are special individuals. They're healers, man. They're healers.
at what point in time were you able to negotiate or kind of navigate off of the alcohol? And
Oh, yeah, I love that you
is
asked that.
did that move in around the same time, or how did that what did that evolve? How did that evolve for you?
Yeah, man, this is a great question. So I'll tell you what was happening with me. Okay. So I was in my mid 40s, maybe 44 or 45. And I think a lot of people do this. I did the dry January thing, right? Where I'm like, all right, I'll kick it for a month, went a little overboard over the holidays. And then I thought at the end of January, I'm like, let me do another month. Let me do another month. And before you know it, man, I was rolling and I got to about 3 years sober. But I don't know, something, I was maybe, I think 48 at this time. And I just thought, oh, I'm in control. So, like, I can have alcohol in my life. The other big one for me was weed. I was a big chronic weed smoker. I'm like, I can have these things in my life. Like, I've proven to myself that I've got the willpower. No way, man. I was about a year off the wagon and I moved back to daily use on both substances. So, I'll tell you what was the catalyst. So, I was feeling bad. I was starting to, like, I'd heard somewhere that your regret is a guideline, and if you're
Yeah.
feeling regret, that's something, those are your lessons, right? That's what you want to, that's almost like God or the universe whispering in your ear and saying, this is something that you need to stop doing. Like, that's why you're feeling bad about it. So I was thinking about that. Then I started seeing this physiotherapist, Asif, and I began to make progress with my body. And so it kind of came together at the same time where I was feeling this regret. My body was getting better. And I woke up one morning, Jeff, hungover, feeling like a loser. And I just looked in the mirror and I said, that's it. That's it. I'm stopping today. I'm going to the gym, or I wasn't going to the gym. I'm going to work out in the backyard because I didn't have a gym membership yet. I'm going to work out in the backyard and I'm going to stop all this garbage. And it was literally an overnight decision, but it all came together at the same time. My body was feeling better. The regret was screaming in my ear. And I finally decided to listen. And I haven't looked back, man. I'd love to tell you that it was difficult or I'd had
Yeah.
moments where but it's done. It's
When
done
it's
for
time,
me.
it's time, man.
Yeah.
When it's time, it's time.
I
I've
like
had some
that.
similars, like where I quit chewing tobacco. I'm like done with it.
Really?
Yep, just like not. I'm not. And I
Because
don't
that's
have.
very
Oh,
addictive, right?
yeah, yeah. 15 years. It was like a 15-year habit. My son was born. My son was kind of my. He was my pivotal moment with that, and then I was starting to work in sales.
What,
The
him
last
being
thing he
born?
wanted, yeah. Well, I think here's kind of what helped me. I was working in sales, and the guy I worked with, he was a dipper too. But I would never, I would always, I didn't think it was cool to do that in front of customers. And I
Yeah.
watched him one day, he was like having to spit in front of I was like,
Yeah.
this is not what,
It
this
hits
is
you,
not,
right? You're like, no,
yeah,
man, we
yeah,
can't be doing
that's
that.
one of my other friends. He was a smoker and he was one of the guys after he quit smoking, he come to all of us and he was like, I just want to apologize for being, for the smoker. I didn't realize how bad I was because he would like inhale and then he would blow smoke all over you, like. And after he quit, he was like, and someone that did it to him, he was like, did I do that? And we were like, oh, worse.
Yeah, that was the life,
So
man.
yeah, just seeing the other side of the habit, I think was a really big eye opener for me. And then my
Yeah, that's
son,
interesting.
you hit those moments of where, like for me, is you like all the years that I spent trying to take years off of my life. When my son was born, I was like, oh shit, I need to put these back on
I
somehow.
need those. Yeah, those
It's like
years matter.
I'm
Well,
buying
and
time back.
you know what another thing that was big for me was, and tell me if you had any feelings like this, but as I was approaching my 50th birthday, I've always been a kind of person, like, sounds like you're the same, where it's like I'm trying to improve my life, and definitely once I had a family that became more important. But it really hit me where I was like, if I don't clean up my bad habits now,
Yeah.
like coming up on 50, like, what am I going to do it at 60, 70? Does it even matter at that
Yeah.
point?
It's hard. It's
You
hard.
know?
It's hard. The longer you make a little progress, the harder it is to make progress. Especially just navigating some of those old habits and trying to be around folks. My wife's mom, um, amazing woman, but she's diabetic, carried extra weight, had
Mm.
all the things, never really worked out. But then as she started to get a little older, it was like one thing and then da 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 da, right? And all like it spiraled into like multiple things, and then um the hint of dialysis. And then she was like, hey, will you help me start exercising? I was running a gym at the time. She's like, hey, will you help me start exercising? We got a little pedal like she could sit in her chair and exercise
Yes.
her legs because it was they had started talking about amputating her
Oh
toes,
boy.
and it was just so I tell that story because for the folks that are like, I still got a little more time. They're going to I'm going to overindulge. Last, but sometimes if you don't just make a little progress, and here's what
Little
here
progress. Yeah.
a pair of shoes, get you a good pair of shoes, walk 30 minutes in your yard or in your neighborhood, and,
It's
and just kind
magic.
of walk. Yeah, just watch
It's
what you put
magic.
in. You ain't got to do burpees. You don't have to. Um, at the gym, you'd be surprised. Like we would do floor exercises, and we would all laugh. Like, guys, you got to be able to get off the floor. What are you gonna do when you fall down? And
It's gonna
um,
happen. Yeah.
it's gonna happen at some point in time. And they would be like trying to fight and get up and all the things. But I, so I want to put an explanation point here. I don't care where you are, start doing something. So if you are that 70-year-old or you are on that side, it's just make sure that you know we want to definitely say it's never too late. It's just harder to make progress. So if you're on the back side of that or you're on the front side, listen, man. Hell, I'm talking more than you, Josh. But here's what I'll tell you. What
No, it's
someone
good.
told me it was the where me and a buddy was kind of round tabling this one day, and I said people are sometimes folks get too selfish in their own wants and needs. They don't realize how much people care about them and want them here.
Yes.
Right? Like is
That's
that smoking that cigarette, it's like, oh, it feels good to me, but then I'm like, man, it's taking years off your life. I would rather have you here as long
yeah,
as I
we
can.
want you
Enjoy
here.
your time. Yeah.
Well, and you know what?
Um,
That's the thing is like you really hit on something there though. A couple things. Number one, I wanted to comment and say just do something, So
yeah.
one of the things that I do is every single day I record on Instagram. I show people my wake up time. I show myself going to the gym. I show what I'm doing at the gym because I just want to show them like, look, this is you can do it too. You can just, you can do some healthy stuff too. But I always record a video and I just tell them, look, just start with 5 minutes. Five
Yep.
minutes of something or take a walk around the block, but just commit to doing it every day. That's how it starts. We just set a habit of doing something that's right for you. And then we can work on that over time, but let's at least install the habit. So I don't care what condition you're in, just do something, even if it's just pedaling in the chair, right? I'm so
Yep.
happy you helped your wife with that, man. That is great. Um, so
That's
there's that.
it's a big one.
Yeah. It's because it's the start, man. It's a commitment. But the other piece is you want to attach, like, here's the thing, attach your success to other people. Like we do these things for us, right? The smoking, the drinking, for ourselves to have a feeling. Once you can realize that, hey, people want you around because they love you, and you're an influence on other people. So when you do good things, you're actually making the world a better place. Like you're doing something good for you, yes, but you're making this world a better place. You're showing other people that you care about you and you care about them. And that's a beautiful thing, man. And that can sometimes give a person a little extra strength than just doing it for them, right? Because we all love our kids, right? Or we all love our parents or our siblings or our friends in our community, right? So do it for them. Do it for them.
You're inspiring somebody. Right.
Yeah.
I try to echo that a lot with different conversations, and I told someone the other week, and they were kind of reaching into their rock bottom. I go, listen, man, people are paying attention. Someone told me that when I was kind of in a bad spot, and they're like, Jeff, we're watching you, and I was like, what are y'all watching me for? Watching me implode here? And they're like, no, we're just waiting for the comeback.
Yeah.
And I was like, man,
Oh, I love
it's
that.
so powerful, man. But then like just for people to realize that like Sally at work who probably doesn't talk to you a lot, maybe doesn't you don't you probably don't know who she is, but like she thinks you walk on water just because of a couple things you did, and you're inspired. Yep. So
Yes.
don't overlook that.
No.
It may not be your immediate family, it could be your kids, could be whatever, but you're inspiring someone.
And I get these messages over Instagram because I'll tell you what happened for me. So I clean up my life. I started working out in the backyard with some kettlebells, push ups, that kind of thing. And then I was like, my back's holding up. I think I'm going to actually plunk down some money and get a gym membership, over at the gym. And then I started going. Within about 5 months, Jeff, I was like, you know what? This has changed my life. Like, I need to start telling people. And like, what's the best way to do that? It's Instagram, because That way, if someone doesn't want to watch me, they don't have to, right? But if someone's interested and curious, and so I just sent everybody I knew a message saying, hey, this has changed my life and I'm going to post about it every day on Instagram. And a percentage of them followed me. And now those people, they're interacting with me. They're telling me that I encouraged them. They're telling me that I inspired them. And I've added a bunch of followers from all around the world. Slowly but surely, we're building it up. And now I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, and hopefully, I hope that this is helping someone.
Oh goodness.
You
Yeah. I
know,
mean, yeah, that's there's a lot of power in failure, and there's a lot of
mm,
power in your story, and that's the part where I kind of step in sometimes in helping people of where they're kind of down and out, and they're reaching into those rock bottom moments, and they go, hey man, you can't have a comeback if you don't have a setback, and you can't. I had some stuff going here
love
recently, and I,
that.
I was around two of my really close friends. I have a bunch of close friends, but I happened to be around two of them when this situation was unfolding. And one of my buddies, who's always kind of been in there to give me just some random advice that really hits home for me, and he's like, well, what's this mean to you? And he's, so how do you feel about this? And I go, well, I can't tell this amazing story if I don't keep having these moments. And I just approached it like that. And I reached out for him a couple of days later. And was like, hey man, I just had to process it in my head. I'm not mad about it no more. I just needed to kind of work through some angry emotions that this situation provoked. And I appreciate you being there and all those things. But that was kind of my realization of telling people the same things, man. You don't, if you don't go through some of this stuff, you don't have no cool stories to tell people and to help them out.
Dude, that I could not agree more. I've said this a long time as a guy that's in sales, right? Failure is the greatest teacher
Oh gosh.
because when you're doing well, man, you're just riding the wave and you're like, I got this all figured out. You're not really learning a lot, right? You're feeling yourself. It's when
Yep.
you get knocked off that surfboard and you slam into the water, or you know, you just have a tough situation, because that's when you have to reflect. What did I do wrong? How did this happen? You got to feel pain, you
Yeah.
know, and that is going to teach you. That is going to, and that's the difference. That's the only difference me and you have over these young bucks coming up, right? Is like we've fallen off a bunch of times. We've skinned our knees. We've learned. And so we've got that wisdom now. So
Didn't
I
realize
love,
how I
I
didn't
love
realize
that.
how much life went on too, Josh.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
how like man, if everybody else moved on, I was stuck too long. Everybody else had moved on. I
Yeah.
I
You're
was
hanging out there.
Yeah, I was still hanging out. I was still hanging out in that spot. Everybody's like, dude, why are we still talking about this? You need but that was just me. Let's
Yeah.
real quick, and don't real quick this, but
Yeah.
a part of what you do as a mindset coach is working on that mental health or that mental shift that folks
Yes,
need to
sir.
make. If you got some tips or some of those realizations that you had, Josh, that we can kind of just educate everybody with on some things that you do inside of your program to help with that.
100%. So here's the crazy thing. So I call myself a mindset coach because I truly believe mindset is everything. But the reality is, we're starting with habits. So we're starting in the physical, tangible world. So when I start working with a client, two things happen. The first thing is we go through a worksheet that I've created through years of my own self examination and working with clients as well. And we start out identifying the client's truest desires, the desires that are unique to that client. Then we examine the beliefs that they have, which ones are supporting those desires, which ones are hindering. And we move down through these steps to really get a game plan in place. The bottom of that game plan is the daily habits. What are the things that we're going to do each day to support our health, mental, emotional, but also physical health, right? Because those three things are combined. And so my program is very simple. I instruct my clients to wake up a little earlier than is comfortable. You don't need to be crazy. You don't need to wake up at 3 in the morning, but a little earlier than is comfortable for you today. With that extra time, I want you to read something positive for 5 minutes just to prime your mind, put yourself in a positive state. And then I want you to reflect on yesterday. And I just want you to think, what did I mess up yesterday? Did I raise my voice to my kid? Did I say something to my wife? Did I forget to call my mom? Did I eat that extra bag of chips? What is it? What what comes up. All you have to do is ask, what do I regret? And then commit to doing better on those items today. You're not going to be perfect, but every
Yeah.
single day, if you do this, you are going to gradually get better and better. And it's a gradual process. The other two things I want my clients to do, I want you to do some form of exercise. Again, that could be a walk. That could be some body weight squats. That could be whatever you can do physically, but I want you to commit to doing that for a few minutes per day. And I want you to start watching your diet. I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you a plan that is going to work for you. And we're going to hang out a few times per day in our feelings of hunger. Because you know what? We're going to reframe that. Instead of saying, God, I hate this, I'm so hungry, we're going to tell ourselves that's what fat loss feels like.
Yeah.
That
That's good.
the fat's coming off right now. So let me hang out for 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes. Let that fat come off before we go do something about it. And I'm telling you, Jeff, if we follow a program like this and I work with someone over a period of time, we're going to change their mindset. We're going to change
Yeah.
their habits. We're going to get results.
That's pretty cool. And that this is what fat loss feels like. I've never heard that frame like that. I know that feeling.
Yeah,
I,
dude.
I,
Yeah.
I know that feeling, but the way you can transfer that to your clients is like that's not hunger. That's what fat loss feels
Yeah.
like.
That's the engine,
That
baby.
is
It's
pretty
burning.
cool, man. That is an
Yeah.
awesome frame.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's it. It's a frame. You're just going to apply it to yourself because we all have this thing, right? And it's natural. It's a normal thing for an animal to do. You're hungry, do something about it.
yeah,
Right. But
exactly.
it's 2025. There's enough food around. We're not going to starve to death. So instead, we got to get comfortable with being a little uncomfortable. That alarm going off first thing in the morning, uncomfortable. Dragging
Yeah.
your butt to the gym, uncomfortable. Hanging out in hunger, uncomfortable. But it's okay. It's not going to be all day. It's just going to be little pockets of time each day. But you're going to get stronger if you can learn to bring on a little bit of discomfort.
You tricking those words trick your mind of
Yes.
hunger. I'm hungry makes me want to get a protein bar. Like I was thinking about what I got upstairs. I'm hungry, I want to go get a protein bar. But fat loss coming off it changes me into determined. I'm thinking,
That's right.
got to go, man. This is what the burn feels like. Oh, that's
That's
so
it. Just do a
good,
little more
Josh.
work. Just do a little more
That's
work.
so
And you know what will
good.
happen? This is the crazy thing. And you know this, man. Like you'll think about it for a minute and then it'll go out of your mind. And then in about 20 minutes, you'll be like, damn, I am really hungry now, but
Yes.
that's okay. Eventually you go and do something about it. But if we can just learn to hang out in that hunger, I'm telling you, people, good things will happen. You're going to see your waist start to shrink.
Um, Last question I was going to ask you. And I enjoy this one because I've had one person be like, "That's not me." But if you could go back and talk to that freshly back injured Josh, um, what kind of words of wisdom are you going to give him, or what kind of conversation are you going to give that guy who's getting ready to go through hell for the next 20 years?
Yeah. Yeah. Love that question, Jeff. I have thought about this one. And, this is what I would tell them. The secret to being happy is not trying to chase pleasure and comfort. You're going to be in a lot of discomfort and a lot of pain. And so your natural instinct is going to be to try and chase some pleasure to make that all go away. But it's not the solution. It's kind of the world works in a weird sort of a way. When you embrace that discomfort that we were just talking about, pleasure is on the other side of that.
You know,
Whereas when you pursue the pleasure, when you pursue the vices, right, whether that's food, drink, smoke, pornography, whatever it is, on the other side of that is regret and shame. And so I would have told myself, you can't do much about the back, Josh. Do your best, but don't go down the rabbit hole of pleasure chasing because it's a dead end, man. It's not going to give you what you want. And I wish
yeah.
I'd learned that sooner, Jeff. I know it now, but it took me way too long to figure it out, man.
Yeah, but excuse me, we both get in this situation through this conversation that there's that 25-year-old version of both of us that is
Yeah.
in some capacity who's someone's going to share this episode with them and they're struggling. And there's more Joshes and Jeffs in the world now that are telling the story, and we have these platforms that we can use. So hopefully our message
Amazing.
reaches in to the. It won't be us. But those versions of us that's coming up, because the experiences are the same. People are still going to hurt their back. People are still going to overindulge. Kids are
Yes,
still going to
sir.
grow up without families and stuff like I did. So I mean, it's or in different situations. So that curse is always going to be there. That's what I
Hey,
want to tell you, man. If you look over my shoulder, I got the breaking the curses. That's
love
what I
it.
speak on. It's a little bit of breaking those generational curses, and then how the puzzle of life kind of reveals itself over time. Sometimes the pieces may don't fit in there, and you're trying to wedge them in. It's not made to go, but the right pieces come along. And I think it's one of the what I always say about these conversations as they evolve. And
Love it.
um, you also you carry through our message and our working effort. Not only are you get to wear that breaking the curse, but you also get to be wear that label of hope dealer, because you're one of those guys who's been there, you've struggled, and you're one of those voices that has walked where people are walking or going to walk, and you're able to give them hope.
Yeah.
That's a big deal, dude. So
Yeah. Thank you.
leave us with how everyone can get in touch with you and learn more about you and your programs and ever how you'd like to close us out here, brother.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'll share that. And then I just got one question for you,
Yeah,
Jeff. Okay.
go ahead.
So the way that people can find me, a couple ways. Okay. My website is joshflower.com. Very simple. So you can go there, get in touch with me. I've got a free giveaway there that people can download. And Instagram is where I post every single day. So I'm going to show you my habits. I'm living them. I'm going to talk to you about them. I do questions like Q&As a couple times per week. So I'd love for people to connect with me there. And that's Instagram.com, Josh Flower one,
Yeah.
Josh Flower one. Um, and so the question I had for you, Jeff, is I'd just love to know, what's your bit of advice that you'd give to your younger self?
Oh man, it's going to continue on. The every I was kind of in a situation where everything was ended with an exclamation point, and I didn't realize that I never thought about tomorrow being an option. Life continues
Mm,
on, and life may continue differently, but it's going to continue. And the time that you spend kicking the can and mad about what you lost is you're neglecting everything that you gained. And if you can face forward, learn from the past. You got to reflect there from time to time, just like we did tonight. But if you can spend most of your time forward facing and focusing on everything that's coming into your life, and realize those puzzle pieces
yeah.
that are starting to evolve, and that one
Oh, I like that.
that you thought fit. You know the one you're like, I believe they may have made an error here. They must have engineered this one wrong because it's really close. That's not really supposed to fit. That when the right puzzle piece comes along. So just remember that life goes on, and let your puzzle keep coming together, man. And
Yeah.
um
Patience, right? Yeah.
yeah, patience and man, don't put yourself through so much hell that you don't enjoy it. I probably spent too much time
Same.
uh, riding kicking the can about, like I said, things that I've lost,
Yep.
and not focusing on the things that I was gaining. I'll tell you. We supposed to close, but I'll tell you this. Um, when I speak to this, I was my law enforcement career ended. And I ended up in business. In my career, I couldn't go back to do police work. I got a DUI, so that's some weird rules on that.
Yep.
And I was so mad for like 2 or 3 years that I couldn't do what I used to do,
Oh
that I
yeah.
was
It's taken away.
overlooking. Yeah, but I was overlooking learning marketing, operations, all these things. My son was born, all these things that was happening. And I really had some reflection moments on that recently, to where I was like, and I was, because when I'm speaking, I tell people that's a big moment for me, is like, don't be so angry about what you lost, that you're not paying attention and getting the most out of what is right in front of you at the moment, and then all the things that's coming to you. Man, it
It's
was such a great. Yeah,
such a human thing to do though, right? Is when we lose something, like you just grieve for that. But it's
yeah,
like it's that later thing, like we talked about, right? Where you had this like this failure that you learned from, but it opened up all these other doors that probably serve you better now than, if you had
Absolutely.
stayed on that path. But if only you'd known that then,
Yeah.
but hey,
My
man,
identity was wrapped up in it, and that
of
was part of
course.
my problem. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to peel off that identity because that's all I had done since I was about 15 years old, was some
That's
kind of
tough,
public
man.
safety, right? So that
And
was
it's
a little
taken
bit of my
from you,
struggles. Yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah. But I have, so now that's part of my mentoring. If I've had folks that I can help navigate those times. And then, a lot of friends that are where I dealt with a lot of hell earlier on. I have friends that are going through divorce
Going through it
now and
now.
different stuff,
Yeah.
right? That they're so hopefully they can lean on like, man, freaking Jeff can get through crap. I know I can. So
Oh yeah, it helps, man, for sure, for
yeah.
sure. Well, that's great. Great answer. I'm glad I
Man,
asked.
I'm glad you asked me that. I
Yeah.
appreciate you taking a second to learn a little more about me.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
Dude, you're gonna come back on at some point in time. I know you
Would
will
love it.
because the conversation's so easy for you and I. But
And we could
when
talk
we
about
get,
more. We could talk about
yeah,
sales. We could talk about,
yeah.
there's a lot we could talk about, Jeff. You bet.
And at some point in time too, and I tell everyone in the coaching business is talk to one of your clients. We can change the names, protect the innocent, but let's walk through like a little success story too of
Love
that
that.
of someone. I've suggested that to a couple of my folks that come on that have clients and coaching. I was like, I really would. Here's something. Here's why I'm going to shut up. Is a lot of people don't understand coaching. They associate coach with the guy
That's
that whistle
facts.
with the 2 button shorts, with the tall socks. That's when you
You're
say
painting a
coach. You're
picture.
like, yeah, yeah. Well, that's I'm not. No, I'm not trying to go back to PE class, Jeff. I want to. I'm yeah. So I try to paint because that's me. That's how I process things. I'm like, coach. No, I'm not looking to freaking get athletic. I'm not playing kickball.
Yep.
But I like for that. So then, what I've learned is if um, I was listening when I got serious about getting financially fit. I was listening to a lady give her story on Dave Ramsey's podcast. I was in the shower and I heard this lady, and I was standing there, man, and it was moving. I was like, damn, I ain't as bad. I mean, that's a
It hit
lot.
you.
Yeah, and to live and it hit me, but I was able to relate with her, and that's what I'd like to accomplish with you at some point in time. Is that you're very relatable, I'm very relatable, but those stories that we bring in help with the relatability of the whole grand scheme of what we're trying to accomplish.
And I love that, where someone can maybe hear about a person that has come into our world and
Yep.
what that journey and experience was like and how they came out the other end of a program. So you're on, man. You're on. I'd
Yeah.
love to do that.
Man, thanks for being with me tonight, brother. I appreciate you, Josh Flower.
Hey, this was a lot of fun, Jeff. Appreciate you as well, man.
I think your son was right, man. This is a good conversation.